you interpret the world around you, how you interpret museums, and how we see things within these spaces. So as you go through here, I want you to think about that. I want you to think, how am I seeing this? How am I feeling? You may notice in the middle space, you're going to hear two different soundscapes on each side of your head. I want you to think about that interpretation as you sit there and enjoy the space. Really take your time and think about that. As part of that, I have a few thank yous I really feel we need to say. The first is to Jess Cruz, my exhibits designer and preparator. She did an amazing job on this exhibit. All of the designs, all of the installations is because of her work. She did amazing. I want to thank Panther Products for doing the vinyl and working with Jess. This is a new and experimental project for them and some of the largest work they've ever done. And you'll see their work, it's pretty impressive. I want to thank Mario Aguilar. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He did all of the Spanish interpretation for us. Many of you may know his work from the newspaper here on campus. He is the new editor. I would also like to thank Harvard for working with us on the soundtracks, the imagery, all of that. The Rod Library for supporting such a project. Very different for an institution like this and very exciting. And all of my UNI students that work for the museum, they've been wonderful, either helping with me or tolerating me not being there while we try to get this done. Thank you for your patience on that. A few other thank yous related more to the hallway. Wendy Miller, the Art Education Department, the Expo High School, and the Childhood Development Center all worked with Jess to develop this exhibit, looking at how different ages interpret collections. It was a wonderful project that we hope to continue, and all of that's been really great. And finally, I would like to thank our new provost, Jose Herrera, for opening our first exhibit and welcoming him down to the museum for the first time. So if you'd come up, and thank you for doing this for us.
Thank you, Nathan. So as Nathan mentioned, this is my first time down here. So I still have lots to learn about what's the exhibits and what are the artifacts that are here. But I did mention to a few of you that I'm coming from New York City, where I've gotten the pleasure to look at many opportunities to look at what museums can be and perhaps maybe should and should not be. So one of the things that stuck out to me before I made my way to Iowa is I visited the Tenement Museum down in the Lower East Side. And one of the things that struck me from that museum is the way that they're able to take the voice of different immigrants and really bring it to the front. And not just immigrants that happened to come to the United States in the 1700s, but immigrants that have come to the United States last month. And so one of the things that I really appreciated with the title is Whose Voice, is it makes quite a bit of difference about who's telling the story. And how you tell the story is to some degree the job of a curator at a museum. And how you progress through the story is an important aspect of curating an exhibit like this one here. So I want to give kudos to the folks that organized the event here and organized the exhibit, because it's very appropriate given that today is Indigenous Peoples Day. And one of the things that I remember my grandma telling me about a story about our family and who we were and how we got to be where we are is this notion. My granddad was a migrant farm worker. And of course, all his life he was pretty much looked down on. And even to this day, my family still does not like when I go out and garden because I get dirt underneath my fingernails and said, well, that's a sign that you're not educated. And that's because they've been told stories about what our role is as a people. And I think that understanding that perspective for our students becomes so much more important. The stories that were told in the Tenement Museum, the stories that are told accurately in the galleries that we see here, it's an important lesson for most of our students as they come in, that they will typically have one perspective. This is not our full role as an institution, but it's certainly an important one. And and that is to tell different perspectives from different cultures and different points of view, so that our students better understand that one of their perspectives is just one of many different perspectives in the universe. And I think that's an important role that museums can play, is to help students understand that through artifacts and through storytelling, that there is an importance of having those students navigate their way through different perspectives, different voices. And I hope that as we move forward, so whether you're a junior or a senior or a staff member, that you're able to understand that there are different perspectives in this world. I've lived in lots of different places. I've lived in New Mexico, I've lived in Kansas, I've lived in Missouri. I have family in California. I lived in New York City, I've lived in Washington, D.C., in Alexandria. So in all of those places, everything was slightly different, even though it was one country. The perspective and what they valued was very different. In case you're wondering, Hy-Vee donuts are still the best donuts. But what I hope that we get out of these kinds of exhibits is your opportunity, and it is an opportunity, to sort of navigate a different chorus of voices that may be valuable to you as you learn how this country, how this world was organized around different stories. And the stories that we're mostly missing, of course, are those stories that are indigenous, those stories where there's a power differential, and those folks that did not tell the story or could not tell their story need to come to light. It's taken quite a bit of time to transition and evolve from a Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. But I think without that voice, without the voice of Indigenous people, I think we miss on the richness of our culture, the American culture. So I hope that you get as much out of it as I just quickly looked through it. Great stuff. And I plan to come back and stick around, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I want to make sure that you have enough time to peruse through the exhibit. And I wish you best of luck as you do so. Thank you for putting it on, Nathan. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So as you roam through this exhibit, it's an open format. You can go right, you can go left. There are 3 voting stations, and you'll see behind me there is a giant glass tube here. I want you to look at them, interpret them, sit in them, enjoy them. Think about which one you like the most and which one speaks to you, and then pick the cube out of that, and we're doing a visual representation to see which version of an exhibit we like. There's 3 different types. As you go through, take your time, read through them. In the section over here, there's actually a wall where you can actually write your thoughts on whose voice and express your opinions, and I invite you to do that as well. And if you have any questions, museum staff will be around to help you. So thank you so much for attending. Have some food and enjoy.
How are you doing?
It's so fun. So it's okay just today, but we started.